this set up. Oops, you're still looking at my ceiling. And of course, that's not right. Let's flip this a little bit. Okay, let's open it up on my laptop here so I can make sure everything looks good. I am muted on my laptop, so that's another good plus. And let me just get everything situated here so and get the glaring of the lights out. Okay. Just bear with me, everybody. I apologize. Just want to make sure everything looks straight and okay, that looks good. Okay, so let's bring in what we're working with in this episode of Throwback Thursday. So welcome everybody. This is Carla and welcome back to the studio. I'm so glad that you're joining me here today for this video. Um, so Throwback Thursday, if you are new to my channel, Throwback Thursdays are where I pull out my retired stash and I use it. A really sad admission here, and I'm sure I'm probably not the only person that this has happened to. So there are so many cool products, stamp sets, bundles and all that that Stampin' Up comes out with out of each of their catalogs. So we get 2 catalogs per year, plus there's also stuff that are online exclusives. So some things they carry over and they stay with us for a while, and then some things they retire. So they're gone like within a few months. So for those demonstrators that do their Stampin' Up demonstratorship as a business where they're learning, well, what they're trying to do is earn an extra income. uh, they typically will not use retired product. They'll only go with current, because the current is what can sell. Whereas if it's retired and you can't get it anymore, then it's a little frustrating for those that may see what you're doing and want it and then get frustrated that they can't. But I decided that, okay, for Throwback Thursdays, most of the stuff that I have is retired. So I have a lot of retired product. Sadly, there are a lot of items that I ordered before they were officially gone and a catalog had retired, and I didn't get a chance to use them. So a lot of the stuff that I've pulled out for my Throwback Thursdays actually had never seen ink to them. And that is pretty sad. So I will say that this bundle here, Flowering Rain Boots, I have used this bundle a few times. So, I mean, that's good. I've had some really good feedback from people thanking me for pulling out the retired stuff and using it. Again, not all, but most demonstrators that are doing video content, they typically use current and not retired. So um, a lot of times they may have this bundle and it gives them a little more inspiration to pull it out and play with it. So this is what we're going to use for this Throwback Thursday, the Flowering Rain Boots bundle. So at the time when this came out, I believe this was the January to April or January to June, one of the two. I think it was 2022 mini catalog. So at that time, the stamp set and the set of dies were not named the same. That recently happened, I think, maybe about a year or so ago. So it's the Flowering Rain Boots photopolymer stamp set and then the Rain Boots set of dies. So on the projects, I did do a lot of the stamping and the die cutting ahead of time. So let me kind of pull out what we're using here. And things that were also that needed to be embossed, I did that ahead of time as well. So I do have my ruler here so I can give you the measurements of what I have here. Now I'm not going to do any housekeeping stuff like the current promotions and things like that that's going on with Stampin' Up. I will be doing Friday Night Live tomorrow. So if you're watching this on Thursday, January 30th of 2025, I will be going live tomorrow night, January 31st at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. It's going to be a part two of a two-parter in which I'm using the Storybook Moments Mega Suite product. So last Friday, I used the Storybook Garden Bundle, and tomorrow I'll be using the Storybook Friends. So the friends are the ones that have all the little critters in it. So I hope that you'll be able to join me. What I do in my Friday Night Lives, I do a wheel of names at the very end of my live, and I choose 3 winners, those that are on with me while I'm live. I put those names in the wheel of names, and I do a drawing, and they get to choose which card that they would like. So I hope that you'll be able to join me tomorrow night for that. Also, being that it's the end of the month, and then Saturday, February 1st, I also do a monthly Christmas card inspiration where I create 2 pretty simple duplicatable Christmas cards. I do that like at the beginning of the month. That's to give you some inspiration throughout the year if making Christmas cards throughout the year is something that you want to do. Okay, so with that, so it's going to be like a 3 video week this week. So to start off, my card base, it's a basic white thick. It measures 8.5 by 5.5. I've scored it at 4.25. I have a piece of Coastal Cabana. This measures 5.25 by 4. Then I have a piece of regular basic white cardstock. This measures 5 1/8 by 3 7/8. And I went ahead and I embossed this ahead of time. And for this one, I have used the So Swirly embossing folder. This embossing folder is currently in our annual catalog, so you can still get this. And then I also, ahead of time, I did some stamping and some die cutting just to save some time. So these are images that you would need to stamp these first before die cutting. So out of a scrap piece of basic white, I stamped the rain boots in Coastal Cabana. I did this double leaf and stem image. I stamped that in Granny Apple Green. And then these tulips, I stamped those in polished pink. Yes, in polished pink. And then out of another scrap of basic white, I had die cut this die, and I used the Stylish Shapes dies. These dies are still currently available in our annual catalog as well. So we'll actually be doing some stamping. We'll be stamping our greeting on there. So I'm going to pull out the ink. Now, again, I use Coastal Cabana on the boots, the polished pink on the flowers, and then the Granny Apple Green on these stems and these leaves. But I'm going to use polished pink to stamp my greeting. So for my greeting, I'm going to use this one here. It says, "Rain or shine, I'm here for you." Pull that out. And then let me get my block. Now, being that this is photopolymer, it's not like our red rubber where there's a foam cushion between your block and that red rubber stamp. So to get a nice image, one of the things that you can use, any piece of foam. So if you have like some of that craft foam, that works. Any type of foam that's going to give you just a little bit of that cushion. So I'm going to be using a stamping piercing mat. This is in our annual catalog, so you can still get this. But again, if you don't have this, something like your fun foam that you can get in very inexpensively in your craft stores, that will work as well. You just want a little bit of that cushion like you have with your red rubber stamps. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stamp my greeting first. And again, rain or shine, I'm here for you. And I am stamping this in polished pink ink. This was one of our in colors a few years ago. It's a really nice shade of pink. I hope that this comes back when they do a color refresh. Now they did one, I think, was it last year or the year before? So they've typically have been like about every 5 years or so that they have done one. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to stamp this right in the middle of my label. And it just fits in there. So I'll set that aside. We'll move our block out of the way. Close up our ink pad and let's move our foam pad. All right, so I'm going to take my card base, I'm going to fold and burnish this. Okay, and then I'm going to bring in my liquid glue. This is the Tombow multi-purpose glue. I put it in one of these fine tip glue bottles. Now this glue, it has a latex in it, so you don't need much at all for your cardstock to stick together. So that's why I put it in one of these fine tip glue bottles, because again, a little, all you need is just a little bit. These glue bottles, I got a package of 10 of them off of Amazon. I do have the link for these in the description of this video. So if you're interested in them, check that out. Okay, so I am going to take this embossed piece of basic white. I'm going to place this on my Coastal Cabana piece, and there's just this little small border that you see of the Coastal Cabana. Okay, and then I'm going to glue this whole piece to my card base. And I will place this right in the center, like so. Press this down. Okay, then I'm going to set that aside. Actually, the one thing that I can do ahead of time, I am going to bring in my Stampin' Dimensionals. I'm going to add them on the back of my greeting here. And I'm going to put this on my card base first. This is going to help with me lining up the rest of the pieces that I'm going to put down. So I'll remove those. And I'm going to place this right down here. I'm going to center it and towards the bottom of my card like so. Make sure that's straight. Okay, now I'll put that aside. Now I'm going to do just a little something to these pieces here that I've already stamped and die cut. So I am going to bring in some watercolor pencils. Now, some of these colors are either in the assortment 1 or the assortment 2. So I have, there's Coastal Cabana, Melon Mambo, and Granny Apple Green. And what I'm going to do very lightly, these areas where you see the white, which is to give you kind of like that shine effect, I am going to lightly color over those areas using my watercolor pencil. And again, I'm not going very hard. I just want that you don't see that really bold white. So it's just a little more subtle. And so all of these open white spots that are on these boots, I'm going to just scribble on some of this Coastal Cabana. And I'll even get this area here that's inside the boots, but most of this is going to be covered up when I add the other pieces. Okay. Again, I'm not coloring really, really hard. I'm doing it fairly soft here. And then you can kind of see the difference right there. Okay. And then I'll do the other one. And I just realized that one of the things I forgot to do before I started recording, because I'm doing this as an unlisted live, I forgot to put my phone on Do Not Disturb, because I kind of saw a notification kind of come through, but hopefully nobody will call or send a text that will interrupt the video. Okay, so we've done that. We'll set that aside. And then we'll bring in our Granny Apple Green. And again, these white areas in the leaves, I'm going to color over those areas. And again, not really hard. I'm just going pretty light. And a little bit on these stems. Okay. So there is our greenery piece. Now, this is polished pink. Of course, there's no polished pink pencil, so I'm using Melon Mambo. And again, I'm not going to go very hard. It's just going to be a light touch. And we got 2 more. All right, so there we go. So we got that. And then I bring in my card base, and we have our boots. So I'm going to bring in my liquid glue again. And I'm going to add some to the back. Okay, and then I'll make sure my card is straight. And I'm going to add my boots right here. Kind of press that down. And then on this greenery piece, now these are going to sit right here on top of the opening of the boots. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in my paper snips, and I'm going to snip off this excess cardstock that's underneath the image, so then that way it lays flush and you don't see that white. So I'm just gonna snip that. When you die cut, it leaves that little bit of a border, like so. So we got rid of that. And let's put these away. And then I'm going to bring in my glue again. I'm going to add some to the back of this piece. And then I'm going to place this right over the opening of these boots. I'm going to take one of my blocks and I'm just going to place that on that to kind of hold that down so that dries. It won't take long to dry. Then I'm going to take this piece here that's got the tulips on it. I'm going to bring in my dimensionals. I'm going to add a few on there. And let me, I got a smaller one, the smaller one's there. And we'll add one here. And these just fit on the back. So I'm going to take a smaller one and I'm going to place that one up here. Okay. All right, and then we're going to take these and we're going to place these right over the stems like so. Now I'm not going to use Wink of Stella on here because being that these are watercolor pencils and with the ink it will kind of smear, it will pick up the ink itself. So I'm just going to leave it as is. For my embellishments, I'm going to use the Iridescent Rhinestones Basic Jewels. I love these things. They're clear, so wherever you place them, they actually pick up the color from behind. So these were an awesome embellishment. We had them for quite a while. They had retired with our last annual catalog, and it really wasn't all that long ago. I want to say maybe last month. These were in our clearance rack, and they're gone now. So I did make sure that I got a few packages of these before they were completely gone. So I really love these embellishments. So on these, I'm going to now my sample card, I had them on the white area, but for this one, I'm going to place these rhinestones actually on these areas where I actually stamp, so you can kind of see that color from the image through this rhinestone. So I'm going to add another one right here. Okay, so there is our first card. So we have some nice bright springy colors on this one, and you can see that with the rhinestone, you can kind of see that color coming through from behind it. So there is our first card. So now let me bring in everything for our second card. So this one is kind of a bit of a spring, well, I would say springy or summery looking card. And again, I've done some things ahead of time. And that technique that we used with the, excuse me, with the watercolor pencils, we're going to do that again with this one. Okay, so I have a piece of Daffodil Delight, 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4.25. I have a regular piece of basic white. This measures 5.25 by 4. And ahead of time with this one, I embossed it with the exposed brick 3D embossing folder, and this too is currently available. Now, when I say these things are currently available, it's at the time that I'm doing the video. So if you're watching this video, say a year or two from now, some of these items may be retired at that point, but if it's still available, it's at the time that I'm doing the video. Okay, so ahead of time again, I embossed that. I also had die cut 3 out of basic white. These dies come from, the Countryside Corners dies. It was, I believe it's this one right here that I had used. These were bundled up with Countryside Corner stamp set, and the stamp set had retired, but the dies they actually carried over, so you can still get those. Those are in the annual catalog. So I die cut three of those. And then also out of a scrap a piece of basic white, I had stamped the 3 pots using cinnamon cider ink. That was an in color as well that has retired. And then the daisy images here, I have stamped 3 of them using smoky slate ink, and I had die cut those as well. Now, again, I'm going to do the same technique of what I did with the other stamp with using the watercolor pencils on the stamped images. So for these, I am using the Daffodil Delight. This is going to be for the center of our daisies. And then I'm also going to use Cajun Craze. Now, it's not cinnamon cider. It's a little bit darker, but it's the color that's closest to cinnamon cider. All right, so I'm going to start with folding and burnishing my card base. Okay, and then I'm going to take my embossed piece here. Now, one of the other things that I'm going to use too with this, I am going to use, this is the black and white gingham ribbon. Now, this has retired. I believe this retired with our last annual catalog. Now we do have another ribbon that's similar to this, but it's a little bit wider. So this is, what is this one? This one is 1/4 inch wide. And currently we have black and very vanilla large checked ribbon, and this is 3/8 of an inch wide. So you can kind of see a little bit of the difference. This is black and white. This is black and very vanilla. So I really like this one as well. So and if you don't have this ribbon, you can, this is the type of patterned ribbon that you will definitely be able to find this in some of your big box crafting stores like Hobby Lobby, Michael's. So the gingham ribbon is usually something that's pretty easy to find. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut a piece just a little bit longer than this piece of basic white. I'm going to wrap that around and adhere that with some Scotch tape. Then I also want to create a little bow. So I'm going to create my bow, and then I'm going to pull on these tails and kind of go back and forth between pulling on the tails and tightening it up, because I don't want big loops for this. I want pretty small. So going back and forth, kind of tightening it like so. Okay, and then let me get my scissors. These are our paper snips, and these I have specifically for cutting my ribbon. Okay, so there is our little bow. We'll set that aside. And where's my cap to my scissors? And let's take our ribbon and let's move that. Now I have these little pins here that I use to keep my ribbons in check so they're not all unrolling. Okay, so then let me get a piece of tape. Now I want to try and get this where it's centered on my piece of cardstock. So I'm going to wrap this around like so and add my tape right there. And then we get another piece. And then this one, I'll try and make sure I got it straight here. And I'm going to wrap this around and add the tape to the back here. Okay, and then I'm going to bring in my liquid glue. And we're going to add some back on the edges here. All right, and then I'm going to take this and I'm going to center this on my card base. Now, if you wanted a little bit extra black, to kind of make this layer here pop a little bit more, you can cut a piece of basic black in this size, which is 5 1/4 by 4. And then you can cut your basic white to 5 1/8 by 3 7/8 and emboss it. And then you'll have this little small black border around this if you want to bring in like some more of that black. Okay, so we're going to set that aside. Let's bring in these pieces right. Well, we're going to do our coloring first. So I'm going to do the same thing that I did on that other one. Let me close up my glue. I don't need this anymore. And I'm going to do the same thing. These areas where it's white, I'm just going to come in lightly with my watercolor pencil. And again, this one is, and I'm not going to worry about this area back here because it's going to be covered. And I'm just going to lightly go over those white areas in the image so that it doesn't look as harsh with that white. So you can see that difference on there. And again, you just want a light touch when doing this. And when you do it with a light touch too, you really don't see much of those lines that are created when you color with pencils. Okay, add a little bit more to this one. All right. Okay, and then with our Daffodil Delight, we're going to color. Now these, I'm not going to do like light like this. I'm going to add a little more pressure with these because I want the centers of these daisies to stand out a little bit more. So I'm adding a little more pressure when coloring these centers. Right. And then one more. Okay, so there we go. So we want the centers of these daisies to stand out a little bit more. Now, I am going to bring in, let's see, we can use our liquid glue on these. So on these die cuts, what I'm going to do is I am going to line this up on my grid paper. So I want the left edge of this to line up with that line, and then I want the base to line up with the grid. This is going to help me align these pieces evenly on each one. So I'm going to add some glue to the back of this. And with my grid paper, I want to come up 2 of those squares, which is a 1/2 of an inch from the bottom. And then I'm going to center this on here like so. So just line that up, bring it down just a tiny bit. Okay, and then I'm going to take the flowers and I'm going to put my glue more on the center. I'm not going to do these outer edges because these will extend over the edge of the die cut. So when I put this on, I'm basically lining it up, the base of it, right here to where you're just seeing a teeny, teeny, teeny spot of the white from the inside of the pot, like so. Okay, so let's set that aside. Let's do our next one. Again, we're going to line this up, like so, and come up 2 squares and place that down. Okay, press that down. Bring in our daisies. And add that right there. And again, just like with the other one, between the ink and the watercolor pencils, I'm not going to use Wink of Stella on these flowers because it'll just take that gray and it'll fill those all in. And I do want to have, you know, those petals show as white. Okay, so our last one. Line this up like so. And then kind of center this. So I'm going to make sure it's straight. And then our last grouping of our daisies. Okay, so then on the backs of these, I want to add some dimensionals. So let me bring those in. So I'm just going to add 3 on each of them. Just going right down the middle. Okay, so typically, so this is even. Usually when you have images like this where you want to kind of create an equal distance between the images, you would start with doing the 2 outer ones first, and then that way the one in the center you can then equally, you can easily determine, you know, that it's evenly in between these 2 pieces. For this, let's see, let's go ahead and take one of them. Now I want to line this up with my grid paper here. And I'm going to use the grid itself to kind of help me place this. So I'm going to go up 3 of these squares. So the 3 are a 3/4 inch from the bottom of the card. And I'm going to place this down. And I'm also looking at the edge of the die cut along with the edge of the card to help me get that straight as well. And then let's do our other outer piece. And then I'm going to do the same thing I'm going to go three blocks up. And again, I'm going to look at the left edge of the die to kind of make sure that I got that straight. Let's look at it. Okay, looks good. And then let's take our center one. Now I haven't fully pressed these down quite yet. I just want to make sure they're all in the right place first. And then this one, it's a little bit easier to line them up, to line this one up between the other two. Now, these flowers, they overextend the die a little bit, so they are going to overlap just a little bit onto the other two. So let me take a look at that. It looks good, so let me press that down. Then I'm going to bring in my glue dots. And when I put down bows, what I do is with my glue dots, I'm going to put one right on either side of that knot. And I find that that really keeps my bow stuck down rather than just using one glue dot in the center. And then I'm going to take this bow and I'm going to place it right here at the base of those flowers on the center pot. And then one more bit of embellishment. I'm going to bring in those iridescent rhinestone basic jewels again. Let's see, where are they? I have my little bin over here that has all the things that I need. So let me get my take your pick tool again, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to add these on top of the images that I have stamped. So I'm going to place one here at the base of this pot. This one I'm going to do right within the gray area of those daisies. And then this one is actually going to go right over the center of that daisy. So there is our second card. So let me pull that in so you can see it a little bit better. So again, if you wanted this to pop a little bit more, you can do a 5 1/4 by 4-inch layer of basic black. And then this basic white piece, you can cut this at 5 1/8 by 3 7/8, and you can layer that on top of that black. And you'll kind of get, you know, this is the dimensions of what I've done with this card. So if you want to add that little extra pop, I didn't think of it until as I was making the card. So, but that's another option of what you can do as well. And then here's our first card. So really bright and springy, using the rain boots and the tulips on this one. So that is my Throwback Thursday for this week using the Flowering Rain Boots bundle. If you like the projects that I have made, please give the video a thumbs up. And if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the channel and then hit the notification bell, and that will let you know when I have another video posted or when I go live. Now, I typically only go live on Friday nights. Everything else is basically pre-recorded, and then I schedule it and then it posts at that day and time. Again, right now I do a Throwback Thursday, which is what I've done for you here using my retired stash. Then I go live on Friday nights at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And for this Friday, I am using the Storybook Friends. So this is a part 2 of the whole Storybook Moments Mega Suite that is in our new mini January to April mini catalog. And let's see what else. And then on Saturday, being that it'll be the 1st of February, on the 1st of each month, I create, it's my monthly Christmas card inspiration. So this is just to give you some inspiration if you want to create your Christmas cards throughout the year instead of waiting till closer to December to do them. Then another video that I also do, and there's never an exact day in which I do it. I subscribe to Paper Pumpkin, which is Stampin' Up's monthly kit subscription. And when I get that kit in, those kits, the last day to subscribe for that kit or to modify or pause or whatever is on the 10th of each month. So the one that's currently going on now, I don't have the stuff right in front of me as to the name of the kit. I did do a video last week, so the information is in there. But usually it takes a few days before I get my kit. And then when I get my kit, I create one of each of the projects in that kit. So that typically happens about maybe 3/4 of the way into the month. Um, and basically that's what I do as far as videos. Now I do have a monthly newsletter that I do send out. And in that newsletter, I have the schedule of all the products that I'm going to be using in those videos. In there, anything that I may be doing is listed in that newsletter, plus anything that Stampin' Up is currently offering now, going on right now. It started on January 7th. We also have Sale-A-Bration. I had talked about that in my last Friday Night Live, and I'll talk about it again tomorrow night. There's quite a bit to it, so I'm going to keep this video a little bit shorter by not, pulling out and showing all that stuff. But so any promotions that Stampin' Up has going on, every month Stampin' Up comes out with either 2 or 3 new kits in their kits collection that you can find in our online exclusives. So I do include a picture of what those new kits are along with the description. So typically my newsletters go out the first Tuesday of the month. That's when we know what those new kits are going to be. If you would like to be on my newsletter, it doesn't matter where you are located. There is a link in the description. If you click on that, all you have to do is add your name and your email address. And then when I send out my newsletters, you're on the list and you will receive it in your email. Just know that if you're in another country, anything as far as Stampin' Up goes, as far as purchasing, you couldn't order anything through me. You would have to order through a demonstrator in your country. But if you like to get some inspiration and follow me with the videos and all that, you see what days I'm using what products. So that kind of, if it's something that you have, then you can pull it out and work with it as you watch, that video. So again, thank you everybody for joining me. Like the video if you like the projects that I made, and please subscribe and hit the notification bell. So again, when I post a new video is posted and when I go live, and there are at least 2 videos a week that I do. So again, thank you, and I hope that you will join me tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time right here in the studio. So until then, everybody, if you're in areas where it's cold, stay warm. If you're in areas where you're dealing with wildfires, please stay safe. And until then, everyone, have a blessed one. Bye-bye.